every time I say that Vibes Cartel get the most time, and it's weird, and I keep showing all these other people that get way less time for doing way more. People say, "Oh, you're a cartel groupie," but I don't do it to be a groupie. I do it to show people the discrepancies. Anyways, welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. Here's another story. This is also an update story to a story that we had covered before. Remember, we say click the subscribe button, but also click the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time we update a story, because we follow our stories through even when some of them take years to get to the final say. All right. Shout out to Loop News out of Jamaica for this one. Taxi operator gets 2 life sentences for killing American missionaries. Here's the story. Andre Thomas, a taxi driver who was convicted in July of killing 2 United States missionaries in St. Mary, he's been given 2 life sentences for those unalivings. Thomas was on Friday ordered by the Supreme Court Judge Justice Leighton Pusey to serve a minimum of 26 years in prison before he's eligible for parole consideration. Now, like I said, 2 missionaries this person killed got 2 life sentences. Sounds good. But then the judge says he has to serve 26 before he is eligible for parole. Vibes Cartel has to serve 35 before he's eligible for parole. You understand? So this is why I said that. Now, moving on with the story. It says that the sentencing came in a home circuit court in downtown Kingston this afternoon. The previous hearing was on October 14th. That hearing was aborted as the convict's attorneys needed more time to prepare his submission for the sentencing. Thomas's cousin and then co-accused, Dwight Henry, he took a plea deal in January of this year 2023 in an apparent exchange for his testimony against his cousin, and they committed the murders together against his cousin, who opted not to take a plea deal. Henry was sentenced to life in prison with a stipulation that he should serve 28 years in prison before being eligible for parole. So one of them took a plea deal and got 2 years less than the other one. No big plea deal, but they both got hit with life sentences. One has 2 life sentences, one has 1 life sentence, and they still both will serve less time required than Vibes Cartel. Alright, let's get off of the Vibes Cartel now, SouFlo. Let's go on with the story. So on July 27th of 2023, a 7-member jury, including 5 women, found Thomas guilty of 2 counts of murder relative to the killing of Randy Hentzel, 48 years old, and his friend, 53-year-old Harold Nichols. At the time when these murders happened, it was big news. Not only because these men were white men and they were not Jamaican, they were considered tourists. These men were also missionaries. There were a lot of speculations at the time. I wonder if these people came to Jamaica pretending to bring God and beating on the Bible and quoting Bible scriptures while they were molesting people's children, and somebody found out and ended their lives. A lot of Jamaicans said, well, if I saw it go, then good for them. A lot more Jamaicans would say, yeah, them people there, they come in acting like they come to bring good, but they come to bring destruction. So people were running with the narrative for a while. I guess people could not wrap their minds around the reality that 2 men who came to Jamaica, fell in love with the island, and actually was given back a whole lot to the island, could be so viciously murdered. The 2 missionaries of the U.S. outreach group called Teams for Medical Missions, they were found dead in bushes in Albion Mountain District in St. Mary on Saturday, April 30th of 2016, and then they found the other one Sunday, May 1st of 2016, both respectively. They were reportedly last seen alive when they left Tower Isles in St. Mary on their motorcycles at about 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 30th of 2016. Their loved ones and friends said they had no fears of Jamaica and Jamaicans. They loved the place. They were very well aware of the murder rate in Jamaica, but they were also conscious of the fact that they weren't in danger, or so they thought. So they would literally ride around on motorcycles all across the place. That's just their normal everyday routine. Let's wake up, let's have a good breakfast, let's say some prayers, let's go out and see who we can help today. Whose house needs a repair so badly? Who is destitute and has nowhere to stay and needs some help badly? These kind of things. So they would cruise around on their bikes. And I know it's hard to fathom for some people. So you mean to tell me that they just wanted to do good? So them just wake up every day, cruise around on them bike and look for people to help? That don't make no sense. What were they getting out of it? You see, the world we are living has become so dark, right? That nobody no longer believes that there are actually good people out there. Nobody believes there are women that don't cheat. Nobody believes that there are men that don't cheat. Nobody believes that other human beings are actually good people with good intentions. Everybody must have some ulterior motive why they're doing the good. What are they getting out of it? And to some degree, you can't even argue with that, because that is exactly how most people in the world are today. Nobody does good just to do good anymore. They do good with an intention to get something at the end, right? But apparently, these two guys, this is not the case with them. Hard to believe, but it wasn't. Sadly, their lives ended in this manner. They went out for their ride. One of them, wife, said she advised him to use the car instead. Car has doors on it. You can lock your door and drive off. Less likely for you to be attacked or anything if things goes wrong. And he said, no man, there's nothing to fear here. Jamaica is beautiful and the people are lovely. Well, they were reportedly last seen alive when they left Tower Isles in St. Mary on motorcycles at about 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 30th, 2016. Residents later stumbled upon their bodies in bushes after an extensive search for them, because you know, 2 white men, 2 missionaries gone missing in Jamaica. Ooh, the place is in an uproar. Everybody is looking. That's just how it goes. Right. So they found the bodies, stumbled upon the bodies after extensive search. Hentzel, he was the first one to be found. When they found him, his hands were bound and his face was down flat, while Nichols' body was found with chop wounds and a gunshot wound. Autopsies later concluded that Hentzel, he died of a gunshot wound to his head, while Nichols received a gunshot wound to his chest and 6 machete chop wounds to his head. Thomas and Henry, a farmer, they were in their mid-20s at the time that these murder charges were laid against them. They eventually told the whole story, and we covered it before about their confession. Henry testified against Thomas at the trial and outlined that there was no plausible reason for the double killings of the Americans. According to Henry, he tied Hentzel's hands and then shot him in the head. He admitted that he did that, while Thomas was the one that shot and then chopped Nichols. He had to say to himself, well, you know, that was overkill, cause me shoot that one here in him head after me tie up him hand, and my boy chop up the other one after him shoot him. Like, you know, you could have just shoot him dead already. Why you chop him up? They turned against each other in court. It's sad that they turned against each other and one only got 2 years for his testimony to convict the other one. But at the end of the day, the men did nothing to them. Henry, the prosecution's main witness at Thomas's trial, he apologized to the family of the Americans during his testimony, and he said that the men's killing was a mistake. It was bothering him. It didn't sit right in his spirit. He felt like he was losing his mind. Thomas maintained at the trial that although he was present on the day the missionaries were murdered, he played no roles in the killings. He actually claimed that he went to help Henry on his farm on the day in question. I just went over there to help my brethren. My brethren see two people, two white men on a bike each, and decide say, let's do something to them. There were other parts to this that are not listed here in this report, but they were asked, was it racism that had something to do with this? One of them, they both said no, but one of them said, from he was growing up, he was taught how white people did black people. And for a split second, his mind went somewhere when he saw them, and he thought a good time to get them back. Like get them back for slavery and get them back for how the world is today because they benefit more from it than anybody else, that kind of stuff. But no, it wasn't really racially motivated. I just don't know why we did it. That was the gist of his confession. At the end of the day, we end the story by saying they got life sentences, but they will only do 26 to 28 years respectively before they are actually eligible for parole. Again, I know in the comment section people are going to say Jamaica justice system is a joke. A joke. The story behind these missionaries, for people who don't know, and you're still going to push the narrative that they might have molested somebody's child and we don't know about it and this is their karma. Well, if it is, it is. Many things are done in the darkness and we get paid for it by karma for the world to see. That's why oftentimes bad things happen to who we perceive to be good people, but we don't know the dirt that they've done on the low. Sometimes bad things just happen to good people. That's life. These men were expert builders and had been retired from their life of construction and business and fell in love so much with Jamaica that one of them actually has been living on the island of Jamaica for many years. And in his time there, he said, I don't just want to sit around on the island, live out my last days, live in luxury because I can afford it, while there's suffering going on around me. Since the island's been so good to me, let me be good back to the island and the people of the island. When they checked, he has been responsible for building over 100 homes and repairing many, many more out of his own pocket from his own fundraising that he has done through his organization. So if you know anybody else that has built over 100 houses for people who needed it or repaired hundreds more and did it all for free out of money they raised through their own organization and used their own knowledge and their own sweat to get it done, let me know who these people are because I don't know them. Sad part is, this is how they were paid for all the good they did. At least that is what we see. My condolences goes out again to the family members remaining of these two men. My apologies on behalf of beautiful Jamaica. These men are not a representation of us all, but they are, if you know what I mean. Alright, so then came the victim impact part of this whole trial. And Sarah Hentzel, who is the widow of one of the men who were killed, said that they were married as teenagers and had therefore figured out life together for more than 29 years together. Stated that she was left twisting in the wind. She said, "He was the love of my life and my companion. His death affected all future plans. It's like half of my life was amputated." In describing herself as a single mother by virtue of the murders, she said that their 5 children who had shared a close relationship with their father and who were at critical stages of their development and lives when he died, they have all been affected deeply. Randy was pretty much the family advisor. Randy was our biggest cheerleader, she said, in sharing that her husband had been killed before the marriage of one of his daughters and the high school graduation of his only son and one of his teenage daughters. Not one day goes by that I don't remember my husband, Randy Hentzel, for the kind of person that he was. Taking him away from us has derailed a lot of our family's future plans, and we will never be the same, she said. Now, this woman is brave because she fled Jamaica. She left Jamaica after what happened to her husband. She just couldn't stay there anymore, and I can imagine she was also very afraid. The main protector, provider, confidence builder, supporter, gone suddenly in a brutal manner. I mean, come on now. They shot one in the head and the other one, he got shot in the back. And because the shot in the back didn't kill him, they chopped him 6 times in his head. That's very brutal. I would pack up and leave too, especially if this is not my homeland and I have nobody else here to back me up, right? So she said, taking him away from us has derailed a lot of our family future plans, and we will never be the same. Terry Nichols, in her statement, said that the death of her husband of 25 years ripped her life apart. She returned to Jamaica for the sentencing. She returned to Jamaica to give her victim impact statement. She wanted to look at the guys who did this. She wanted closure, and she wanted to speak her mind so they know what they did when they did what they did. I lost the love of my life and the only family I had. I lost my home. I lost my dogs. I had to move back to the United States because I lost everything. I had to get a job and start all over again because I had no money. And this is speaking of her having to flee Jamaica and leave their home, their dogs, their everything. Nichols said that she had to receive therapy, and she has had many sleepless nights where she just sits up and just plays everything over and over and over in her mind, unable to sleep. And while she has been trying to cope with everything, it's been extremely hard. Harold was an absolute angel, and if you ask anyone, they would tell you exactly that, said Nichols, who shared a memory of her husband on top of a roof in a hurricane, working to secure it so that the occupants, which were Jamaicans in it, would not get wet. She said that after selling everything they owned in the United States and moving to Jamaica in 2001 as full-time missionaries to do God's work, they have built 75 homes for people in the community. So earlier we said 100 and something homes, which is what we've heard. So I guess it's 75 homes, and the amount of homes they also did partial repairs on and all that. But from ground scratch all the way up, they built 75 homes. I'm sorry, but that's still a lot. I watched the Prime Minister the other day build a community, and I don't think that community has 75 homes in it. On Friday, Justice Pusey, in his sentencing address, described the killings as senseless and without reason, stating that this was a killing which damaged not just the two gentlemen and their families, but also damaged our country in many ways in terms of the work that they were doing. Absolutely, because now missionaries are going to be looking at Jamaica like, yo, it's a friggin' jungle. There are animals out there. They'll rip you apart and eat you alive. They'll chop you up. They'll shoot you in the back of the head, all for nothing. You don't have to do anything to them, which in the long run, what this does is people who are actually going to come to help people who really need it, those people are going to bring their help somewhere else, to a more peaceful island like Antigua and Barbuda, and go build houses for their needy over there. So that help won't be coming to Jamaica. Blighted the country, and in the grand scheme of things on a world level, it makes people from the outside look at Jamaica in a different light. One person says capital punishment should have been given in this case. Another person says King Solomon ruled to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. These guys were doing sacrifice, charity in the nation where murderous spiritual lions are on the loose due to the unjust actions of our leaders who have repaid evil with good. And King Solomon ruled about that, saying, whoever repays evil for good, evil will never leave his house. Proverbs 17 verse 13. Unfortunately, these two charity-minded pastors encountered that evil on the loose in house Jamaica. If they had been doing justice and judgment instead of sacrifice, the outcome would have been different. Another person says, I wish that this article had stated the ages of Henry and Thomas. These two criminals could still be out at a very young age. This 29 years before parole needs to stop. If my view, life sentence would mean no chance of parole. These two had enough time. They had a fair trial, and they should be sentenced to death. If hanging is considered inhumane, we need to rewrite the laws to accommodate lethal injection. Let's face it, having an IV in your hand for that procedure is just like getting prepped for surgery and lulled off to sleep. People like these need to be removed from society. Look how long these wives had to wait for some justice. Part of the jungle justice mentality in this country is directly related to the inefficiencies of the justice system. People want the punishment to fit the crime, and this person is absolutely right. This is why you have so many other killings in Jamaica outside of gang warfares, and it's because when people lose their loved ones, they get to sit back and watch them. Your mom gets murdered and the killer gets 15 years and he's out after serving 10 years in prison. And she did nothing to him. And, people then go and kill the person who killed their mom. And then their family come and kill somebody from your family because you killed him. And it goes back and forth because there's really, truly no justice in the sentencing system in Jamaica. Another person says he was slapped with 2 life sentences, but he can get out on parole after 26 years or 13 years per count. This for me is a big slap on the wrist. 50 to life must become the standards. And the last person said, this is so sad, but this happens every minute in Jamaica today. Speaking of people being murdered brutally and getting little to no justice. Damn. We'll leave this one right here for now. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about this one, and I'll catch you on the next video. It's SouFLoTV. I'm out. Peace.